Good evening, everyone. You're listening to Red Pill 78. I am the corruption detector, and this is your Red Pill News. In a new report from John Solomon of The Hill, exculpatory Russia evidence about Mike Flynn that U.S. intel kept secret. Sometimes public silence can be deafening, or, for that matter, misleading. For nearly 2 years now, the intelligence community has kept secret evidence in the Russia collusion case that directly undercuts the portrayal of retired Army General and former Trump National Security Advisor Michael Flynn as a Russian stooge. That silence was maintained even when acting former Attorney General Sally Yates publicly claimed Flynn was possibly compromised by Moscow. And when a Democratic Senator, Al Franken of Minnesota, suggested the former Defense Intelligence Agency chief posed a danger to this republic. Even when some media outlets opined about whether Flynn's contacts with Russia were treasonous. Yes, the Pentagon did give a classified briefing to Senate Judiciary Committee Chairman Chuck Grassley in May 2017, but then it declined the senator's impassioned plea 3 months later to make some of that briefing information public. It appears the public release of this information would not pose any ongoing risk to national security. Moreover, the declassification would be in the public interest and is in the interest of fairness to Lieutenant General Flynn, Grassley wrote in August 2017. Were the information Grassley requested made public, America would have learned this, according to my sources. Before Flynn made his infamous December 2015 trip to Moscow as a retired general and then advisor to Donald Trump's presidential campaign, he alerted his former employer, the DIA. He then attended a defensive or protective briefing before he ever sat alongside Vladimir Putin at the Russia Today dinner or before he talked with Russian Ambassador Sergei Kislyak. The briefing educated and sensitized Flynn to possible efforts by his Russian host to compromise the former high-ranking defense official and prepared him for conversations in which he could potentially extract intelligence for U.S. agencies such as the DIA. When Flynn returned from Moscow, he spent time briefing intelligence officials on what he learned during the Moscow contacts. Between 2 and 9 intelligence officials attended the various meetings with Flynn and about the RT event, and the information was moderately useful about what one would expect from a public event, according to my sources. DIA spokesman James Kudla on Wednesday declined comment about Flynn. Rather than a diplomatic embarrassment bordering on treason, Flynn's conduct at the RT event provided some modest benefit to the U.S. intelligence community, something that many former military and intelligence officers continue to offer their country after retirement when they keep their security clearances. It's important to wind back many months to where the Russia collusion narrative started and the media frenzy-driven suggestion that Flynn may have been on a mission to compromise America's security and endanger this great republic when he visited Moscow. Would the central character in a Russian election hijack plot actually self-disclose his trip in advance? And then sit through a briefing on how to avoid being compromised by his foreign hosts? And then come back to America and be debriefed by U.S. intelligence officers about who and what he saw? And would a prosecutor recommend little or no prison time for a former general if that former military leader truly had compromised national security? Highly unlikely. The gap between the original portrayal of Flynn's activities and the actual facts, likely, is one of the reasons a prosecutor working for special counsel Robert Mueller pointedly rejected a judge's suggestion at Flynn's aborted sentencing last month that the general might have engaged in treason. There's no sugarcoating the mistakes Flynn did make. By his own admission, he misled the FBI and Vice President Mike Pence about the fact that sanctions did come up in a December 2016 conversation with Kislyak, then Moscow's ambassador to the United States. He didn't file proper foreign lobbying paperwork for money he received from Turkish sources, and he likely did not file the proper paperwork disclosing or seeking permission for the $45,000 in speaking and travel fees he got for the RT event. Those are sins for which Flynn has paid and will pay dearly. But there is ample evidence now that the event that many Russia collusion cheerleaders have cited as the start of a conspiracy between the Trump campaign and Moscow was, in fact, something very different. Flynn's attendance at the RT event was disclosed in advance to the intelligence community. He took proactive steps to ensure that he could not be compromised by attendees, and he then came back to the United States and reported intelligence designed to benefit America. Flynn was never charged with any wrongdoing related to the RT event, so the belated revelations about his pre- and post-event conduct won't have any effect on his sentencing in the court of law. But in the court of public opinion, they should have real impact. On that score, the first accounts of the Russia Flynn story, like many others in the still unproven collusion narrative, should be amended to reflect that the retired general acted like a patriot, not a traitor, when he visited Moscow for the RT event. Well spoken, John Solomon. General Flynn is a patriot, and he was a patriot. He will remain a patriot. It is so clear that he acted with the best interests of our country in mind. And, you know, I don't even care that he didn't file the Propafara paperwork, okay? Because it sounds to me like nobody in Washington did, all right? The Podesta brothers certainly didn't. And they were working for some real scumbags. But General Flynn went on a mission. He did work for his country when he didn't have to do it any longer. All right? And he was honest about everything that mattered. And the fact that all of this has been kept out of the mainstream narrative is disgusting. All right? It is clearly showing bias and intent to defame General Flynn, to destroy himself, his character, everything about him, his legacy. These people are sick, all right? And when they can take a man who has given his entire life to his country and they can destroy him in such a short amount of time, there's nothing sicker. Hey guys, as a little side note, a friend of mine from the channel, LJ Woods, sent me a message last night. And he asked if anyone had made any connections about January 19th. Well, January 19th, 2018, post 562, our favorite Anon stated, "Remember this day," with the emphasis on this day. So to me, I take that to mean January 19th. Obviously, maybe not 2018, but the date, January 19th. What happened in January 19th in history? Well, I can tell you this. There was the package Q strike, and the largest strike of F-16s in military history. Many aircraft, including the F-117, were used to attack targets in Baghdad, which was the most heavily defended area of Iraq. The same target was hit several times by F-117, and the last package consisted of 17 F-111F on the 19th day of the war. The main target of the strike was the Tuwaitha Nuclear Research Center near Baghdad, which was the site of the Osirak nuclear reactor that was attacked by the Iranian Air Force in 1980 and again by the Israeli Air Force in 1981. So the package Q strike, all right, we got the F-117, we have 17 of them, and it all took place on January 19th. Now, does that mean that this date, January 19th, is something that we need to pay attention to? Well, I don't know for sure, but I'd say that the fact that we have all of these things coming together makes a lot of sense. And it takes us back to the fact that January 19th is also National Popcorn Day. I hope you guys remember this graphic that I did in one of my proof videos a couple weeks back. Remember, Q had told us to remember the 19th already. We have Jesse Wade Stites passing away on the 19th. It is, of course, National Popcorn Day. And we were told early on that Friday and Saturday would deliver on the MAGA promise. And then, of course, don't forget about the poem that our favorite Anon posted, which led us to General Flynn changing his background to the dark to light. We've got the blood moon coming that weekend. Q has already spoken about Moabs, the fact that we had the red carpet event taking place. This year, the Producers Guild of America Awards will be held on Saturday, January 19th. And Q had posted this Devin Nunes tweet previously about grabbing the popcorn, and we were told, you asked for popcorn. Let's start here. Now, these dates, they line up with these posts on the clock. Again, over here on December 20th of 2018, we had a tweet from President Trump. After historic victories against ISIS, it's time to bring our great young people home. The tweet length of the video, 1 minute, 19 seconds. 119. I personally think that January 19th will be a day to remember, and I know I'm going to have my popcorn ready. Now in the like mother, like daughter category, a report from the Daily Caller. Pelosi's daughter says her mom will cut your head off and you won't even know you're bleeding. Wow. House Minority Leader Nancy Pelosi's daughter shared how she feels about her mother likely becoming Speaker of the House for the second time Wednesday with gruesome words. Alexandra Pelosi was responding to a question about how her mother approaches meetings with President Donald Trump and how she feels about her mother's potential new title as Speaker. She'll cut your head off and you won't even know you're bleeding, Pelosi said on CNN's New Day.
I love, Alexander, how you sat here patiently and waited as we've spoken about the incoming Speaker of the House, who happens to be one of the people who raised you. But if you can tell us what Speaker Pelosi thinks about going in.
John, we have known you for 2 decades. Do you think I'm the person that's going to come on CNN and talk about my mother? Is that who you think I am?
I'm asking you, you are a fantastic political reporter. How does she approach meetings with President Trump, A? And B, just what are your feelings about this person who you know quite well becoming Speaker of the House for a second time?
She'll cut your head off and you won't even know you're bleeding.
Wow. Something tells me that that characterization is a little bit off. Maybe she's, using a bit of hyperbole. God. But what a gruesome thought. No one ever won battling against Nancy Pelosi. She's persevered, she said. You got to give her credit. No matter what you think about her, you have to give her credit because think about it. Think about all those presidents she's endured. The Bush, the Clinton. She's been through it all. And she's got the surgical scars to prove it. Pelosi, who has vehemently opposed the border wall, calling it immoral, ineffective, and expensive, and her Democratic colleagues reportedly put together legislation that would reopen the government and allocate $1.3 billion to border security. However, none of that would be allowed to go to a border wall. The legislation is set to be introduced Thursday. Pelosi is likely to take over as Speaker of the House on Thursday when Democrats regain control. Wow, that is if she doesn't drink herself to death first or have a brain aneurysm behind the podium. Or maybe never wake up from another session of Botox. Well, Nancy Pelosi, her daughter is, she's something else, huh? Jeez, oh Pete's. All right, and moving on to our last story of the evening from the DC Chronicle. A new report says Democrats might be hiring lawyers to investigate the Trump administration. Not surprised. Reports coming out of Washington this morning, and this is from December 28th, if I'm not mistaken, are that the Democrats are hiring a staff of lawyers to look into the Trump administration. The Democrats, of course, only control the House of Representatives. They do not control the Senate, 53-47, something that the left continues to forget. According to sources, though, despite not having enough votes for impeachment, Nancy Pelosi and the Democrats are hiring lawyers in advance of their takeover of the House of Representatives in January. The reason for such hiring is to investigate the Trump administration. Even fake news CNN is reporting it as seen on their website today. The House Oversight and Government Reform Committee needs lawyers, too, posting jobs for Executive Branch Investigative Counsel. Now, wait a minute. I know what you're thinking. Isn't that what Mueller is there for? Well, that's what the Democrats originally said, and that was the reason for the special counsel. So with all of that being said, the Democrats are doing this for one thing: headlines. They are grandstanding for the sake of doing so, politicking, if you will. Meanwhile, Mueller's investigation is nearing the 2-year mark with zero proof of evidence of any Russian collusion. When will it all end? The government is shut down, all because the Democrats will put illegals before American citizens. If we've learned anything in the last 2 years, it's that the Democrats will do anything and everything to remain in power. They will lie, cheat, steal, and even kill. And that is the report from our friend on Twitter, Real Matt Couch. Good job, Matt. I have never been to DC Chronicle before, but looks like I'm going to start using this as a place to find good stories. All right, well, I think that's it for this report. I want to thank everyone for joining me on Red Pill 78. I am the Corruption Detector. This has been your Red Pill News Brief. Good night, everyone, and God bless.